I've said a few times, let me know when you can see my screen. If we're good to go, thumbs up. Everything's working properly. Okay, we love the tech. We love the techie issues. So, anywho, my name is Juliana. I currently work with Advent Health, as some of you are aware from just the announcement of what I do. So I will be super honest and transparent. Although I am so happy to be here, this is my first time speaking to a class or just any about my experience and things like that. So just bear with me, be patient. But being in the project management field, I do speak a lot and I do lead out a ton of meetings. So this is really exciting for me to have the opportunity to share a little bit more about Advent Health, my experience, and just what project management within healthcare all entails. So before I get into the nitty gritty, let me tell you a little bit about myself, because how awkward is it if you don't know a little bit about me before we go ahead and get started? So really, a few just fun facts about me is personal. I have been married for 7 years. I have 2 beautiful little boys. They are 4 and 2. One of them is actually graduating this Friday, so pray for me and my mom heart. He is graduating from VPK. It is a huge milestone in this household, so we're on the verge to do that. We are a Disney family, love us some Disney, and I think that's the most. Oh, and I have a pup, a little Yorkie. Her name is Nala. She's been with us for about 6 years. So yeah, that is a little bit about myself. We are a dog family as well. Great. So now you know a little bit about me. We can dive more into not just my personal life, but just educational experience. So I did my schooling at UCF. So I did my undergrad degree in UCF in healthcare administration, because truthfully, I didn't know where I really wanted to go. And then from there, my last year, as I was doing my final class, capstone class, we had to do an internship. So I was amongst so many students from UCF who went through an Advent Health intern panel. It was their first time doing this panel. They did it in like a group panel session, and it was really intimidating. They split us up into groups and they'd be like, you go, okay, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. And it took all day. And it was the craziest thing I've had ever experienced. But honestly, it led me to being one of about, I think, 11 who were chosen to work within the patient side of Advent Health. So that's where I started. That's where my Advent Health experience started. Once I finished my undergrad, I got an internship with Advent Health at East Orlando with what was then called Patient Access. It will now be known as consumer access within revenue cycle. So my experience started in revenue cycle, really interning for registration and just seeing what patient registration all looked like. After my internship was over, I was actually onboarded into guest services. So I started greeting our Advent Health patients at East Orlando. I was there for a few months, and then I transitioned into actually being registration and helping with patients and insurances. That's where really I got a lot of my knowledge with insurance companies, Advent Health, more of the patient side, and really understood the importance being there for a few years of the patient care, I will say, and really understood the importance of understanding insurances. And that helped me both professionally and personally, helped so many people really understand what insurances were all about. But throughout my time with consumer access, I was in the ED and inpatient, outpatient, was there for a few years, where then officially I transitioned over to more of the back end of pre-access. So that was still within revenue cycle, so talking to patients, but I became the assistant manager of that area. In that role, I was able to learn so much more about what it took to build up a team, what it took to meet metrics, what it took to kind of meet goals, and the importance of what kind of revenue that brought within Advent Health and a bigger scope. So that was really exciting, really rewarding for a short amount of time as well. At about 3 years ago, right as COVID hit, I was looking for something a little bit different because although I enjoyed the management aspect of it, at that same time, I was getting my master's in health service administration. So at that time, I knew with UCF as well. So I knew that I wanted to stay within the realm of healthcare after being in health for about 3-4 years. I really knew that that's kind of where I thrived and what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to stay within Advent Health, went ahead and did my master's. And then I realized that maybe frontline patient experience wasn't really my calling. What I really loved about my job was taking an issue that my team had and fixing it. I didn't really know what that was. I just knew that was the part that I liked. I liked when there was a problem and my director would be like, hey, we need to find a solution to this, or how can our team meet metrics? What process do we need to change? Do we need to standardize something? Do we need to move things around? Do we need to shift people's schedules? Like, how can we solve the issue that we're currently seeing to either meet metrics, patient satisfaction, customer surveys? It was a whole ton of things that compiles into one department of pre-access. So that's really when I met with my director. Anytime I've been in a role, I always looked up to my manager or director as kind of a mentor, because that is where I would eventually want to go. I've always been really goal oriented. So I had a meeting with my director mid-COVID, and I was like, you know what, I'm looking for more of a managerial role, maybe a director role. I feel like I'm ready to move up. And she asked me what I liked about the job. She told me that you were in COVID, it's going to be really hard. I explained to her kind of what I just explained to you all, what I liked about the job, what I liked about being the assistant manager of that department. And that's when she said, do you know about project management? And I said, project management? What is that? So I didn't know what I didn't know for such a long time. So that's really where the project management experience in my career kind of flourished. And that was back in 2021. So just about 3 years ago when I found what project management was. So that being said, what is project management in the healthcare? So project management is essentially, for those of you who don't know, who are interested in project management, it is everything, and then it is also nothing if you make it nothing. So you can really dive into project management in every aspect of your life. A wedding planner is a project manager. It's really going from point A to point B and finding a solution or finding a roadmap to get there. So before I get into the nitty-gritty of project management, little did I know that I had been doing project management throughout almost my entire Advent Health career. Any little assignments that I would get going from one place to another, that was really project managing the way I would accomplish those tasks, the planning of how to do it, the execution of doing it, the testing or the monitoring, if you will, of that, and then the closing off or transferring to my team was all very informal project management experience. So when I say it can be everything, it really truly can. Once I dove into what project management was, I realized I project managed the crap out of my life. I'm always project managing our days, our weekends, our vacation. So that all in all is really what project management is. It is planning, it is executing, it is monitoring, first it is initiating, and then it is closing. So the 5 life cycles of the project management, you can truly take them with any roadmap of a task you're trying to accomplish. So within healthcare, what I have learned within the past 3 years being in this department, currently I work for the project management department in Advent Health Corporate. I am the manager in that department now, but I started as a project manager. And I have learned so much within the 3 years that I've been here. I have learned that there are so many different project managers, even within the healthcare field. I am one of many that encompass project management across Advent Health. I'm sure other entities, other healthcare organizations have a similar org structure, but I'm sure there's many more than these, but these are truly the biggest ones I've had the opportunity to work with. So there are different project management departments. such as AIT. Those are going to be your more techie projects of how to accomplish any IT asks, IT requests. There are your patient experience project managers. So that's more with our consumers and consumer satisfaction. That's going to be another section within Advent Health Corporate that we have had the opportunity to work with as well. There's construction project managers when we work on new builds, on when we are working through building up a new facility. As I mentioned, I'm still within revenue cycle, so I'm a revenue cycle project manager. So when we are uprooting a new facility, when we are acquiring a new facility, there are construction project managers that are leading out the whole kind of enterprise of it, making sure all of the regulations in a construction world are done. And I'm over here making sure all of the insurance areas, all of the managerial, the staff for registration is completed. There are so many tasks within each department that are needed, and really we need to track well in order for it to be a successful opening. So, and then there's us. There's the revenue cycle project managers. We work with all different types of projects. So moving into my middle here with the project types that I have had, and these are just some of the projects I've worked on. More recently, we have been onboarding a new system. We've been transferring our Advent Health system from Cerner, which is where all of the patient accounts were housed, to Epic. So the last kind of 2 years, it was all about onboarding Epic. So the different regions, we have Advent Health has acquired so many different regions. We're across the entire United States. So the onboarding of that, the go lives, if you will, of those have come in phases and in waves that have taken a really long time, like a few years. So now that we have onboarded Epic officially across the nation, what we're doing is optimizing it. So there are projects now that we're working through the optimization of Epic, the standardization of different processes and departments within revenue cycle. We've worked with the finance team, we've worked with scheduling, we've worked with all things patient related and revenue related, patient billing. Most recently, we're working with our CentraCare facilities. So different projects that would encompass that. We also worked with, like I mentioned, new builds. I had the opportunity to work with Flamingo Crossing, which is a really cool little Advent Health nook, but it is was acquired with Disney. So if you ever have the opportunity to go to Flamingo Crossing, you will see there's so much Disney merch. And so I was really excited to be a part of that. I got to see the opening, and that was so cool to see a project that you are working on flourish and come to life. There also, like I mentioned in my prior roles, there's a lot of metric-based goals that are within several different revenue cycle departments. So we have metric-based processes that we come up with, or that solutions that we bring our other revenue cycle teams to try to marry all of the processes together and standardize them. So where I came from was more of a putting out the fire, you're in front of the patients type role. I will say healthcare project management, the specific project management within revenue cycle that I currently work in, we like to think of ourselves as the inspectors of a house before a fire were to happen. So we are very proactive, we're very agile thinking and making sure nothing is happening. We say if there's ever a fire to put out, where did we go wrong? There was something that was messed up, something happened that we didn't cross our T's and dot our I's quick enough. So that's a little bit about the project departments, project types. Now, if this is something that you are interested, if this is something that project management you wanted to know more about, learn more about, there are a few certifications that are out there. So to get started, when I was first onboarded into the project management world, even just within leadership, any healthcare administrative degree or any healthcare administrative role that you'll be in, they'll always typically recommend the Lean Six Sigma certifications. So those come in different colored belts. Those are white, yellow, green, and black belt. Those all vary in just how we're standardizing, what we're utilizing. It's really about waste, like what we can optimize, I will say, and how different techniques to do it. So that is a good standard certificate that is really great to get. Another certification that we use often is change management. If you are diving into researching any project management class, PMP course, Project Management Institute, the PMI, anything like that, they will all say the same thing, that change management is flourishing. It is thriving, and it is more focused in and comparable to project management as we've ever seen. So change management is all about ADKAR. It's all about understanding kind of the way we communicate, how we communicate, the people of it all. And so that is another great certification that really goes alongside project management certification, very well recognized. That is a ProSci certification for change management. Now, the two project management specific certifications that I have seen, and if anyone is in project management now, the biggest piece of advice, or it is something that you've worked in and you want to get, you want to be in project management forever, the advice that I got was skip over the CAPM and go straight to the PMP. So the CAPM, which is the Certified Associate Project Manager certificate, that is a smaller certificate. It's still great to start in diving into project management field, but it is a test that you kind of need to do, but the PMP is also a test. So if you're going to do it, just go straight to the PMP. So my manager, like I said, any manager, well, my senior manager, I've always seen as a mentor. So that's when I was asking him, like, if I love project management, what do you suggest me get in order for me to stay within this world, for me to learn, grow, be a program manager one day, be a portfolio manager, whatever that would be. And so he said, dive into the formalization of project management, which is what our department does. We go through in the entire project management life cycle, which I kind of alluded to in the beginning. So there's a 5 project management cycles: initiation, planning, the executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. So those really, the biggest advice was formalize that, understand that, know that, then study for your PMP. Now, for the PMP, that is a very well-known across the project management world, not just healthcare certificate. So this is construction project managers, IT project managers, all types across the world, pretty much. This certification is well known. It is a pretty hefty certification. You do need to have at least 3 years of experience. There is an application process. You sit in for a test. It's a 4-hour, pretty intense test. But once you do and study for it, you have to take a course, or at least self-study for at least 30 hours. You need to talk about project experience. It's a whole thing to do it. So I would say if you are going to do it, make sure you love project management, and it's just not just a certification, because it's also pretty pricey to do the class and the test. So that would be my biggest piece of advice for certification and moving forward into the project management world. Now, I can dive even further, even deeper, but truly at the highest level, those are the types of healthcare project management that I've had the experience of coming in contact with, working with. I can go into the nitty-gritty, the formalization of it, but I would love to hear from anyone who has any questions or any feedback, or just maybe admin health questions or project-specific questions, certificate questions. I'm going to take a breath.
Thank you so much. I have a question. Would you be able to talk about the most complicated healthcare project and what made it so complicated in a healthcare environment?
Well, I'm currently in one. I will say this is I am currently working on a project that I had not questioned my project management abilities up until this project. I mean, when I first was onboarded, I was like, what is formal project management? But up until then, fast forward 3 years, this is a project. It is called Optimization of Incomplete SIR Records. So these are records that are input from physicians, from care management departments, into records that identify physicians, if you will, But somewhere in the billing world, in the billing department, these records got crossed. Doctors are being inputted Rob S. Smith or Robert Smith S, or just different but the same doctors. So there's like duplicates. So what we're really doing is trying to optimize it. And the way we're trying to do that is by working with our data analytic team, one, our executive leaders in revenue cycle is another big key player. So the idea or the goal of it is to do a one-time cleanup. So to get all of the external credentialing database systems that we use, about 4 different ones for this specific system, to get them into one centralized repository. So that's where our data analytics team comes in to play. We want them to kind of get all of those external credentialing systems, build out a centralized repository, filter it out, clean it up, and then go back into where the SIR records are housed and do one big data dump to clean it up. It sounds pretty straightforward. Sounds pretty, we're gonna, we have a plan, we're gonna use these different teams to accomplish it. But the thing about this is, one, it is a lot of different departments that are being affected. So not just revenue cycle. When it's solely revenue cycle, it's easier because we all have the same leader. But this is IT, this is Epic, this is case management, this is credentialing for the physicians. So we've been working on this project for about a year now. And we are still in almost the discovery phase. We have trialed and errored it so many times. It is more so a people process, because I will say project management is not so much how you execute it, because you can get from point A to Z 100 different ways, and it could be right. But it's really understanding the processes and the people of it all and how we communicate. And so trying to get all of everyone's buy-in has been a little bit tricky, trying to get people to understand what the goal is, although it is drafted out in a charter, although, we're giving them the data, we're giving them the validations. All these different departments have different types of reservations as to why they would move forward. Also, executive presence has been a difficult factor for this specific project, which I hadn't encountered in the past. So kind of what to do when you're getting unresponsive feedback from either stakeholders or people you're directly working with. How do we get their attention? How do we get this project moving forward for that? So that has been my most difficult one recently, but we are finally coming into a place where I can see the light. We kind of took a step back and really understood what we needed. We've tried to meet with the same leadership team about 2 times. So before meeting with them one more time, I think we're doing our due diligence as a planning committee and a planning project team committee to ensure all of our ducks are in a row and all of the questions are answered before addressing it again with our integration team for the SIR records. But hopefully that answered and didn't confuse you more.
No, it did. It sounds like a lot of diverse stakeholders, a lot of process improvement, a lot of messy data that you guys are working through. Did anyone else have any questions? Because I have a couple others, but I'd want to open it up for the floor.
Yeah.
I have a question. So I'm graduating with my MHA at the end of this summer, and I'm currently interested in project management, but I know that it can be tricky sometimes with just job titles and not actually being what you end up doing within the role. I was just wondering if there are any other keywords in job titles that could signify project management work that I can look out for.
Yeah. So we work with associate project managers, anything, some analytics have project management in it. It'd be not so much the job title, but really looking towards an entry-level project management scope. So, I mean, some analysts are project managers, but really you can gain project management experience if you're looking for a healthcare field or a small doctor's office or a healthcare facility. You can gain healthcare project management experience almost anywhere by just, fixing or doing projects, if you will, within your own department, which every department is always looking for ways to be better. So that would be fall into the optimization category, or there is not a process in a facility, or there's no process in a small doctor's office and you are building one. That is a project in itself also. So if you are not able to find a project management, because I know those are far and in between, they're kind of hard. It is getting more known within the healthcare industry. It is getting a lot more well known. A lot of people are looking for project managers now, but I would say anything with the job description that would say like project initiation or communication between interdepartments. I think that would be a key word to look for, or a key phrase, just how they communicate what the ask is. But I would also be careful because, like you said, a lot of project manager roles are not truly project manager roles. They'd be more like EAs, so like assistants. So just be careful with that. That was the biggest piece of advice I also got when I was learning and growing.
I have a question. Sorry for the noise in the background, but I wanted to know, because I'm pretty much like just starting out. I haven't been in school in about 10 years. I'm trying to get in the field. Like, what is the best start for me? Because where I am right now, I do a lot more case management. And so how do I kind of transition?
So I would suggest, if you are in case management right now, are you currently working within a healthcare department?
No, I work for vocational rehabilitation.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would start by looking for any entry-level positions within a healthcare field, if that is what you're looking for, or is it just project management you're looking for? I would start with something as associate project managers. Those usually work alongside project managers. So I oversee the associate project managers in our department. And what they do is they partner with the project managers to help with, you can say, more of the administrative things like the meeting minutes, the assisting with the agenda preps, the calendars, and aligning everyone's calendars. But truly, we see it as a partnership. They work alongside the project managers and kind of are able to shadow and see what they're doing and how they execute a specific plan or a specific project request. So an associate project manager, look into the CAP-M if that's the case. Maybe not the certificate, but even going on the PMI website, that's Project Management Institute, there are so many resources. There are so many. The PMBOK is a great book to just start learning what formal project management looks like. And I would start there, just like by researching, doing your homework and reading it all and learning about what it is. There are also some really great vlogs, actually, like YouTube vlogs on project management. That's where I studied a lot of my PMP knowledge. But diving into being in a project management role, I would look for something like associate project manager, assistant project manager, project liaison is another really great entry-level project management position. So hopefully that helped answer your question a little bit more, Sarah, as well.
It definitely
yes,
did.
thank
It
you.
Definitely did. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
Of course. I just see a question in the chat. What is the biggest challenge in overcoming company culture that is hostile to transform a project? The transformation of projects. Okay, great. This is a great question because this is really where change management comes into play. So when there is hostile or pushback or someone is apprehensive to a change, that's where change management comes in, where they are assessing the team that the change is going to affect. They're preparing how we're going to communicate the effects to the team. They're also assessing how ready the team is for a transformation. So for a change, for a new metric to be put into play, for process to be put into play. That is a lot of what change management does, and is the people side of it. So as a project manager, you really need to be adaptable and flexible and identify when change management is needed, which is why I say change management is coming more and more into the project management field because of the people aspect of it all. So that really matters. Are they ready for the change? Are they aware of the change? Because I think the biggest hostile or transformation that happens is when a team or a department or, you know, the people that the change is affecting are not notified. So that's the biggest thing that we've seen, where it will be a hostile place. And if it is something like one department is going to be consumed by a completely different call center, we do onboard different stakeholders in the project, such as HR. They'll be in there. They'll talk through what compensation looks like. They will talk into the nitty-gritty. So as project managers, we are overseeing the entire process. So it's more of a high level. At the end of the day, the project team I work with, you know, they are the experts. They are the ones who are in it every day. I am just the one who is leading out the change. So how can I do my due diligence to identify who they're affecting when they say, this is my goal? Okay, well, who is it affecting? Do they know? Do the resources know? So it's all within kind of a discovery initiation. Once the project is initiated, we get all of those questions to prevent that hostile transformation, Joshua, that you're talking about, for that to not happen. So a lot of project management, it is proactive work that we do on the front end, at least for us. And that is how I have found success in avoiding those hostile or apprehensive departments or people that you work with. Caroline.
Hi. Thank you, first of all, for speaking on all of this. I come from, the majority of my career has been revenue cycle. I have over 20 years experience. Sorry to reveal my age, but I am very much interested in the project management side of things. I didn't know what direction to go in with you know, studying for my MHA. So what my question to you is, you mentioned with getting a PMP, you need the 3 years experience.
Yeah.
What experience specifically would you need before taking the test for the PMP?
Great. Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're able to back up what you've been doing has been project management experience. So what I did without knowing, like I said, when I was in revenue cycle and consumer access, any graphic that I build out, any change that I led out, even from the ED, I restructured our entire, my employees at the time, their schedules. That's a project. But what I did was, from the very beginning, get-go, I actually have things in my documents on my work computer that I actually did during even my internship. If you're able to back it up and call it a project and get like approval that it was a project that you worked through, if you were asked to optimize anything, if you were ever asked to fix something, you know, or I would say help your team reach 100 patient accounts, or help your team meet 30 patients an hour and do a $1,000 collection a week goal, and you created a process in order for your team to do that, whether it be like go into a room and say it like this, or do this, or reframing the script, or anything like that, that is essentially a super informal project way that you've done, like that you've been doing things. So that is what I mean when I say everything is a project, but also nothing can be a project if you don't make it one. So yeah, that's kind of how I was able to do it, because I didn't get so I'll say I've been in project management for 3 years now. I didn't get my PMP until November of last year. So I was a project manager for a year and a half before I even began studying for the PMP and really pursuing that, because like I said, my manager was like, be sure that you know, because it is the most difficult test I have ever taken in my life. Not to scare anyone. It's great. Do it. But I cried after.
So you didn't actually need the certification to be a project manager?
In some roles. In some, you can find project managers that don't need the certificate to get kind of started. But if there's a department that you're looking at that they need the PMP, sometimes they say PMP preferred, but it will say like at least 3 levels or 3 years of project management experience. Again, if you're able to build out your resume, build out your portfolio to really demonstrate project management experience, then I think you would be fine to dive into a project management role. When I first onboarded with this team, I actually applied for the associate project manager role, but with the portfolio and resume I built out, my current manager was like, I'm so sorry, I don't think that you would be a good fit for associate project manager, but I think you'd be a great project manager. So he said, you've been doing project management stuff without even knowing. And so he was really the one from the get-go, from the interview, he didn't even know me, who was like my biggest advocate for project management. So you don't know what you don't know, but also you can totally, if you can back up your portfolio in a way that demonstrates Visios, process maps, graphs that you've made, data tables that you've set up. I onboarded new communications. Within revenue cycle, even just being on the consumer patient side, I was asked to do so many things that I would always document and keep with me. Even research and data analytics that I did at a very light level, nothing compared to the actual data automation team that I work with now, but just that beginning steps of it and keeping it documented, that also makes a great project manager. So if you don't document right now and you want project management, start documenting, learn to love it, because over communication is really key. Over documentation is key. You need, communication, how to keep everyone aligned is another really important part of being a successful project manager. And I know I varied off a little bit, but there's just so many things I can say about project management.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I do have another question, but I know, Caitlin, you had a couple more questions. Did you want to go first?
Go for it, Caroline.
Sorry. My other question was, with you going into this, having the background of insurance, where you said you did like your externship or and you went into the revenue cycle project management. Is it possible to take that PMP and use it in the other project management positions?
Absolutely. So like I said, PMP, once you really get into that, the research of what it is, a certification, PMP is nationwide. It is all project managers. It is a Disney project manager. And I only say Disney because I love them, but even Universal has project managers, so many companies, Delta, like it is transferable. Once you have that, that's why the biggest piece of advice from that I got was, get it if you know you want to stay in the project management world, because it is really transferable everywhere. But because I got my MHA and I got health services, my bachelor's in health service administration, I know that I want to stay in the healthcare field. But now in the event that I didn't, in the event that I wanted to switch, I definitely could, because that PMP is nation or universal. I don't even know. Worldwide, it is spoken on. And if anyone does get their PMP or looks at the PMI website, that is the Project Management Institute website. Let me actually link it in the chat for you guys. This is a membership site, but I think you can play around with it even if you're not, because there's so much useful information here. I'm waiting for it to load. You can log in or continue with a LinkedIn. You can log in and create an account. You do have to pay for a membership if you want to get into a lot of the technicalities of it. There's a summit yearly that you're a part of. So once you once you get into the Project Management Institute, there's like a whole community, basically, that there's so much to learn, so much to know about project management in itself. But it is worldwide. I go to the summit yearly and you hear speakers from all over the world, and it is pretty crazy. Another question, in your project management journey, what higher level teamwork and interpersonal skills have you learned to bring together? Love languages. I love that. I think for me, the biggest interpersonal skill is understanding not only the ask, but the person really being able to. So I'm a really big fan of personality tests, Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, love languages, all of those. And that really came into benefit interpersonal skills because understanding the person in itself and understanding how you're saying it and how you communicate, understanding as you're talking and working with people more, their way of communicating and understanding that is really truly an important part. Just even recognizing their question might be, well, why do we have to do it this way? But you don't know behind the scenes. It's, they've worked so hard to uproot their department, and now you're coming in as a project manager and trying to change that. And so it's really understanding the like, hey, listen, I hear you. I completely understand where you're coming from. So acknowledging the person as a person and not just as a task. Understanding what they're actually communicating when they're saying, I like oranges, but they're not really saying I like oranges. They're saying like, hey, I use the color orange in my wedding, so it's so special to me. So I really need you to like not mess with this. And it's like reading between the lines, if you will. But as you get to know them and in a discovery call, in a planning meeting, how they communicate, working, and even if it's like straight up asking them like what their preferred method of communication is and things like that. And you really get to know people the more you work with them. We get the opportunity to work with a lot of different executive leaders. And so we get to see a lot of personalities. So really understanding a personality, you can pretty much tell if someone's introvert, extrovert. You can tell if someone is a dominant personality trait or more of a yellow. And so you could see if a person is more analytical, they talk more with the numbers and they talk more with their feelings. So you can really tell. And so identifying that early on would be the best piece of advice that I would say for the interpersonal skills is understanding the person, the ask, the communication of it all. I hope that answered that question.
So I have one. There's a lot of different management plans that exist in the world of being a PM. I think one that might be a little bit foreign is budget management. Can you talk a little bit about budget management and what all that entails?
I would love to, except we don't budget in our department. So I know there are project management departments that do work with numbers and budgets. Ours, even though it is revenue cycle, we don't currently. But being on the management side of the project management department, I do get to work through our 2025 budget. I do get to work and see what that budget will look like for Advent Health for the process improvement department. So project management is just one of many process improvement departments, and they allow us to sit in on those meetings. I have just most recently learned a lot about the budgeting world and what that all entails. And it is a whole other world. It is really foreign to me, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, if some would say. Numbers has always confused me, so I'm kind of like, but I will say there is being a project manager, you get to see a lot. So I was lucky enough to be on a project when I first got onboarded. It was called 2023 Charges Update, because we were in 2022, and that one really talked through all of the charges that we would bill health insurance for the upcoming year. And it was working with the finance team and just the numbers of it all, the budgeting of it all. There is really a science behind it. I would say if you got a project with finances, really lean in onto your stakeholders and the project team who they are the experts. Like I said, they're the ones who calculate it all, formulate it all. They're the finance department. But as a project manager, I don't do a lot of the budgeting. I think I am very adaptable to change. I think I am very flexible. So I think if that were ever to come into our department, we learn it, but right now, unfortunately, we don't. I don't know that I can speak too much on budgeting or resource allocation, I will say also.
Yeah, there's a lot of different types, and to your point, they'll have different plans that they follow, and it's
Mhm.
interesting to hear about the rev management space in particular and the work that you guys do. So thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So we only have a few minutes left. Did anybody else on the call have any questions while we had this time?
I have one more question. I'm going to load you up with all these questions.
No, I love it.
What are the steps leading to the position that you're in? Like the different levels of roles?
So right now, the way we are structured in our department, it would be associate project manager, project manager. I am the manager of project management, which is kind of a funny title. And then we have the senior manager of project management, but under the senior manager is also change manager. So he is a change management professional, but on top of it, that's who our senior manager oversees. That is the entire team that he oversees. I oversee our associate project managers who work alongside the project managers, just kind of to paint a picture of the org structure. And then on top of our senior manager is a director. They oversee the project management department and education department and our SME department. So the director oversees those senior managers. And then from there, we have an executive director who oversees everything else, including our data analytics team, anything that has to do with process improvement. And then from there, we have our corporate revenue cycle VP. So that is the highest level of the org structure that we report to.
Thank you.
Lots of growth, lots of steps, lots of ladders.
That was important to ask.
Yeah.
Abigail, did you have your hand up?
Are you able to hear me? Or is it, oh,
Barely.
I have my speaker on.
I think I can make out what you're saying. Hold on. Did I lose you?
Okay, all right.
Perfect.
Is it better now?
There
So
you
much
are,
better.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I bought like a new speaker. I'm just trying to see if it worked. Okay. So, you did talk about some challenges in management, and I wanted to know, do you have any specific tools you use to make sure that like your team stays motivated and productive during like the project cycle?
Yeah. So again, I would say, well, first of all, we love tech. We love new speakers. We love the technical issues. But I will say, with my own project team, so we build out the schedule ahead of time. So we are building out one of the items that we ask in our discovery call. So like I said, project management is all about being proactive. We ask about timelines. We ask about any constraints the project might have. Are there any ongoing initiatives that would make this project not a priority on your list? So I will say I can have a project start and end as quick as and as responsive as my project team is being. So what we do is we are always proactive. We give weekly status updates of where they're at with the project, how the project progress is coming along. If they had given us a timeline and we're getting close to it, we set up our agenda very tactically in order to make sure we're hitting all of the tasks and goals needed. We have several different agenda formatting types in order to continue to keep the project motivated. One can be a Word document with just discussion topics. And we also, throughout the project lifecycle, keep up with action items. So we do something called a RAID log. So that is identifying risks, issues, decisions, and action items. I was like, I'm missing something in RAID. So just by logging those, by documenting them, sharing that with the project team, that keeps it a consistent flow and is proactive enough to really truly keep the team motivated instead of just, waiting to hear something. We set up weekly status updates. We set up touch points to ensure that they are keeping on track with what their goals are. So we are always working proactively, which is why I say, if we are ever setting a fire, we did something wrong. We're setting off a fire. We did something wrong in our planning, in our communication, in our documentation, because that truly is key for success.
Right. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? I love the questions. If you couldn't tell, I do love talking. I need to take a break every once in a while, but I'm here for it.
I have one. Are you on LinkedIn, and would you be willing to share it so everybody can connect with you?
Absolutely. I actually, one of my own personal goals is wanting to get better in LinkedIn. I don't post that much, but I'm on LinkedIn. And so if anyone does have LinkedIn Learning is a great tool that I would also recommend. There's a lot of classes. There's a lot of, I'm trying to have to share my profile. See, I'm not a big LinkedIn person, but I am on LinkedIn. Let me go into my profile. I will send it over as soon as my LinkedIn loads, but I do have it. Yeah, if you look for my name, my parents decided to spell it with a G and 2 L's, so I should be the only and first one there. But it is Juliana, and it is the same title, the MHA PMP, Manager of Project Management at Advent Health. Look a little different. That was when I first was on board with an Advent Health, so my hair's all black, so that's the biggest difference.
Awesome. I'll grab the link so I can share it out. You'll probably get flooded with a bunch of requests to connect.
No worries. I will be sure to respond. I promise.
But thank you so much for walking through this. So many people were interested in learning about project management, and so we're so lucky to have you as our speaker and to walk through all of that. It was really great to hear about your experience and just in general about project management. So thank you so much, Juliana. And hope everyone else has a great night, and we'll share out her LinkedIn so you guys can connect and follow up, if you're open to. So thanks,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.